Greeting and welcome to dear Nasser Mohajer. Given the situation in Iran, particularly since the 12-day war in June of this year, the fascistic attack on Iran by Israel and United States of America, there has been further development and analysis which we hope to dig into and learn from, including and particularly the moves by the Islamic Republic of Iran against the justice-seeking people in Iran, and particularly further escalation of attacks against the political prisoners of Iran. Our guest today is Nasser Mohajer. Nasser Mohajer is one of the most knowledgeable and at the same time unique, a most humble scholar about the history of Iran and particularly social justice in Iran. He is the author of many books, articles, and research papers, but the most significant, the must-read book is The Voice of Massacre, Untold Stories of Life and Death in Iran of 1988. The massacre that we are getting close to commemorating its 37th anniversary. Nasser Jan, without further ado, I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation. Nasser Jan, set the stage for us about what's going on in Iran and about Iran.
I'm very happy to be with you, and I hope I can contribute a little to your understanding of what is going on in Iran, which is not being covered as it should be in European and North American journals and newspapers.
Just recently, we have heard from the members of the Iranian officials and the official media about the need and also the possibility of repeating the massacre of 1988. How serious is this, in your opinion?
Let me read the exact translation of what the Fars press, which is very close to the security apparatus of the Iranian regime, of the Islamic regime of Iran, some 3 weeks after the war was finished. Well, I don't know if it's finished or not. I mean, they're not fighting militarily against each other, but we don't know what it is at this moment. 3 weeks after the 12-day war, this news agency made this announcement that I'm translating for you. Why should not we repeat the experience and the executions of 1988? Don't you think that the time for repeating that successful experience is right now? That experience helped us to run the country for so many years without any problem. And we didn't have to deal with the problem of terrorism. And now, after this terrible war and aggression towards Iran, we can feel safe if we get of our enemies the exact same way that we got rid of them in 1988. Is it going to happen, or was it a threat? We still don't know. What we know is that in the last few weeks, they have announced themselves that some 2,000 people were arrested that are in jail now. On July 21st, 6 Baluchi political prisoners were executed. A few days before that, 2 members of the Mujahideen Khalq organization, they were executed too. And then we have the killing of 3 Kurdish prisoners that happened July 29. We have been witness to the executions that come every 2 days, every 3 days. Of course, the execution of smugglers and dope dealers and um, people, who are there for uh, thefts and stealing and still stuff like that is being discussed in more detail. Their pictures is on the first, page of newspapers. But when it comes to political activists, that is not that has not been their practice uh, in this round. Like in 1988, every day they would have, these pictures of very young girls and boys, 16 years of age, 15 years of age, 18 years of age, who were condemned to death because of anti-revolutionary activities, considering that they deemed themselves as revolutionaries and the rest as counter-revolutionaries. So, but to this date, we have not seen that practice. But just uh, threatening people and killing a few people every a few days, and making a state of siege kind of a situation in big cities, especially Tehran, which is being controlled uh, hourly, I would say, day and night. And I didn't mention the number of Afghanis who were arrested. Some 2 million of them were expelled from Iran, um, migrants. And in one of those acts of inhuman acts that one can think of, just expelling, people, who were living there, had made a life for themselves, in Iran, had worked there, living in honest and very helpful way to the society. Uh, some of them, at least 6 of them, were killed last week. And it seems that, they're trying to portray the Afghans in Iran as one of the conduits of the Israeli Mossad, who had penetrated the political system in existence um, in such a unbelievable way that they had penetrated almost every important government agency in Iran. It is difficult, of course, very difficult to go and find the big shots, amongst the leadership of the Iranian government to say that, they're agents of Mossad, the Israeli secret police. But it's not, it's easy to find the, poor Afghani people and say that, they were collecting information for the Mossad. So this is again one of the tactics that they have been using, one of the dirty tactics that they have been using in the last a few months. But all in all, this is, to make a atmosphere of fear, intimidation in a society where it is already in a very turbulent kind of a mood because of, the war that came so suddenly, and people are still asking themselves, how did this happen? Is it going to happen again or not? Are they going to continue the war or not? In a situation that is, just questions, 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 and atmosphere of fear and intimidation.
There is a significant difference as well, despite the fact that Iran is not the Iran of the right after the Iran-Iraq war. In 1980s, they issued secret fatwa, and now they are publicly announcing that. What is going on? What are the differences? And you expressed that it's to create fear, intimidation, and in some ways maybe revenge against the people. Do you think that people do know this about? especially I'm talking about that 1988 massacre, and especially the students and people in diaspora or the people in the world, how much they know about it and what they should know and what they can do or must do. For example, right now in Iran, there are Tuesdays of no executions, and that there are more than almost 50 prisons all around the country are participating for hunger strike those days. But that has not become a mass movement in Iran, nor uh, all over the world people are paying that much attention to that. So this question of that was secret, now they are openly expressing that. What is going on and what must people know about?
That is a very good question, in fact. See, the formulation that I read for you does not say anything about what happened in 1988 other than the execution of political prisoners. How they executed those political prisoners, how they were tried in so-called courts, because they were not really courts in the modern sense of the word. It's still a state secret. We know that between some 5,000 and 6,000 political prisoners were executed in that very summer. People know very little, if they know at all, that, they were tried in these kangaroo courts. Just few questions. Do you believe in God? Do you do your pray? Do you believe in the organizations that you were working with? And if the answer was in the that was positive, to these questions, then they had to go and be hanged. If it wasn't because of Ayatollah Montazeri, the grand Ayatollah who was to replace Ayatollah Khomeini, we would know less, much less, about that carnage. And of course, this brought disgrace for him. He lost his job as a dolphin, as a replacement of Ayatollah Khomeini, and had to live for the rest of his life under house arrest. People outside of Iran in diaspora, they knew more about the massacre than the people who lived in Iran. Ex-political prisoners came to Europe and North America and started giving speeches about their ordeal, or undertook the heavy task of writing their memoirs. It's through these memoirs and this collective memory that we know now aspects of the Great Massacre. We are living in a very different situation from 1988. We should also be ready to see some new tactics, some new so-called innovations on their part. We have to be very cautious and we have to be very alert. The more people know about, such a possibility, the better it is.
Thanks a lot. That was very important. But at the same time, and most significantly, one thing that you have done in your book is that you have talked about the hopes and dreams of those people. And you have also talked about the survivors, relatives, loved ones of those who we lost in that massacre. One of the key things that, one thing just brings me to, in your book, you write about very significantly about in the title says, he held his head up, about Muhammad Ali Partovi.
Right.
Yeah, the imagery has a great meaning for many, many Iranian political prisoners, having no fear and standing up. I was just reading just recently the letter that was sent by Golrukh Irai, who is in Garchak prison right now. And she puts it, uses the poetry of Nazim Hikmat,
Right.
and it says, until their last breath, I know that they smiled all the way, staring at the enemy. They did not bow down. I want you to speak a little bit about the humanity of, and that especially political prisoners, they know what they're fighting for. They know that they're fighting for a different world, because I think that's one of the key things that it is in your book that brings the humanity of those loved ones.
Again, a very important question you raised. I think that it's important not to forget that this culture of resistance and this culture of fighting and being proud of what you have done, it started, before the Iranian Revolution of 1979. During like 10, 15 years before the revolution of 1979, a new attitude developed amongst political activists. And I'm not going into detail about this because it's really something that, we it takes a book, to talk about the culture that was developed at the time. But, an important element of that culture was that um, it's important to fight. We are people who believe in certain things, certain values, certain ideals. We have made an identity for ourselves. We go to their jails and face torture and physical and verbal violence with our distinct identity. No one can break this identity. We cannot go to jail, and then after being badly beaten, tortured by these henchmen of the Shah's regime or of Khomeini's regime, stamp on your identity and tell them, I'm sorry, I have made a mistake and will do my best to correct myself. This is, in quotes, correcting myself. If you excuse me, no way. A very big number of the people, political prisoners, didn't tell them, pardon me. We are going to become good boys and good girls and do what you want us to do to make up for our mistakes. This we call the culture of resistance. Yes, prison has been another front in the fight against the existing order, being that of the Shah or Khomeini. And let me allude to an obvious fact. The Tuesday prison strikes in Iran are excellent examples of nonviolent and civil disobedience. This, permit me to call it a culture, has its roots in the Iran of the 1960s. This is when the revolutionaries, the dissidents, as well as the non revolutionaries, called Iranian political prisons the University of Revolution. All city dwellers knew that Shah's notorious prisons, for us, the dissidents, people who did not believe in the Shah's rule, we thought of this place as a university of revolution. It was there that the university students all interested in nonconformist behavior could read illegal hidden books, pamphlets and leaflets, everything that we could not, get from the bookstores at the time. With that total censorship, we got engaged in conversations with left-leaning revolutionaries, writers, poets, and what have you. Conversations and readings on Vietnam War on Palestine, on Algerian liberation struggle, on the 1968 protest movement in Europe and North America. That really was something very big for us at the time. I thought that maybe it will help, this background to understand what is going on right now in jail, and why, even in this, very difficult period, especially what happened after the Israeli military forces bombarded the notorious Evin prison. Okay, even after that, we see many reports done very courageously, many reports that what happened exactly during those days in Evin prison. And these we have for the first time, we have reports, live reports, like something happened last night, 2 nights ago, in 2 days' time, in 24 hours. We have detailed reports from different people, from different parts of Evin prison, explaining what happened, how it happened, how the uh, regime officers and the henchmen were treating them, during those very difficult days and nights.
I think your point is very important that this is been going on for a long time and it is contagious. And also, they help each other, like we were saying about those books, helping each other to learn. I know that some of the prisoners actually teaching other prisoners to different languages that they know.
Exactly,
There's some who left from Europe or other countries, like Mehran Raouf, for example. These people are actually like teaching people how to speak English or be able to read English books.
exactly,
It's very, very, very important.
exactly,
Courage, yeah, the courageousness of the political prisoners is very crucial. And I have to, express that, especially for me, the women prisoners have really shined. I remember that actually hearing the singing of the Blachau from the women prisoners coming out, and we were listening it, and we were listening it in our gathering here in this country. One thing I want to actually get into that, which very much relates to, and is what you write in your book, in the title is "Never Again." This is actually expressed by Jafar Bekish, who is a brother of our beloved friend, sister Mansoura Bekish, who has also signed to this international emergency campaign. And just recently, she led organization of many organizations in Europe to actually to stand with the Afghanistani refugees who the Islamic Republic is attacking them. And that was courageous what they did, organize people to
exactly,
really stand with the people in Afghanistan. And I would like
exactly.
you to kind of, speak to this question that never again, is also expressed here in this country and all over the world now, especially for
Right,
the young Jewish people, Jewish
right,
for peace, for example. This is very,
right.
very significant. And how that should be contagious. What can we do for that never again would be never again for everybody, not just in Iran, not just in prison, not just United States, but all over the world.
If you permit me, I start with the first part of your question. I try to be as brief as possible, but I think this first part of your question is very important to understand and to discuss the second part of the question. The Islamic regime of Iran is one of the most misogynic regimes that one can find in the world. The misogynic character of this regime was somewhat apparent before the revolution too. I'm talking about the 1979 revolution, of course. Not through the talks, lectures, interviews that Ayatollah Khomeini was giving day after day, but the behavior and actions. of his supporters in Iran vis-a-vis women in the public space. Even though Ayatollah Khomeini would hide this when talking to press, international press, that men and women are going to have equal rights. We are not going to impose anything on women, and women are objects in capitalist society, and we are going to give them their real identity. But in reality, something else was happening. The first demonstration that happened against the Islamic Republic of Iran was 8th of March 1979, right after the revolution, that people came to the streets and said that we do not want to go with hijab outside or to go to work with hijab. Okay. And from then on, we see every 2, 3 years another act by women, okay, led by women against the regime. So what happens is that, in a way, the Islamic regime of Iran that came to uh, discipline women in Iran and put them in their own place, and their own place meaning house, child rearing, kitchen. The opposite happened, and the Iranian women saw themselves in a life and death struggle, and that if we do not move, if we do not fight, if we do not resist, we are going to have a very bad future. Well, this became the discourse of an non-believers in the Islamic Republic of Iran who were fighting the omnipresent sexual apartheid in the country with the upheaval of women, life, liberty, movement. The Iranian society at large went through a big change. The vast majority of women welcomed and decided not to observe the Islamic dress codes in the streets, public places, or at work. What are we seeing in prisons right now is somehow you can see what is happening in prisoners, the history of 40 a few years of women's imprisonment in Iran is very much like, 45 years of struggle of women outside of prisons in Iran. Okay. And that is each time, we saw women more militant, women more vehement, women more uh, intelligent in their work and in their demands and everything. And now one can easily say that women are playing the most active role inside Islamic Republic jail. So uh, that is one important thing about, the understanding the role of Iranian women at this time. I think it was, with women that the term victim was somehow banished inside jails. What do you mean I'm a victim? I'm not a victim. I have decided my own life. I know what I'm doing. I'm a subject. I act as a subject. I'm not an object. I'm not a victim. I don't want to be a victim. Okay. And many discussions like that, with profound philosophical meaning. And this never again that you alluded to is, you know, well, as you said, it's now an international thing. And then you ask yourself, you look at Israel, and if never again is going to be never again, it really takes work, hard work, most and for most education. Of course, it cannot be reduced to education or limited to education. Certain positive acts, concrete acts must be taken. If, there was a different education system in Israel with all the means that Israelis had, with all the resources they had, if the education system was something different, if the society was organized in a different way, if the discourse, the dominant discourse was that there is no difference between you, Jew, and me, a Muslim, Palestinian, Israeli. There is no difference. We are both human beings. We need to have, certain rights. We need to live in dignity. We need to live in equality. We need to have, a, better future for our kids. I mean, if the society was organized in a different way and educated in a different way. I remember very clearly the civil rights movement that was going on in the 60s and the achievements of that movement in terms of, bringing a little more equality between men and women that is being now threatened. But I think that, as I said, the most important thing is re-education, reorganization of the system, and to be able to look at things from a different angle and live in a different way than we have been living.
I'm so glad that you expressed that, what was going on in 60s here in this country, but also all over the world, that people
Exactly.
were standing up and fighting for a better world. That's something that has subsided for a long time. And our hope is that the conversations like this to be able to actually be food for thought and also the fire people's imagination to actually materialize the kind of vision, the kind of future that the people were dreaming of in those times. And that is this question brings back again this question of a never again for people all over the world. It's very, very crucial that we are actually seeing that sh- the shoots of it here and there. With that,
Exactly.
I would like to leave this stage to you for your final points. Whatever would you like to end the discussion with?
I think the most important thing at the moment is solidarity with political prisoners in Iran. Having programs like this, the one that we're just having right now, discussing the real situation in Iran, discussing the real situation in the Middle East. The Middle East is going through a very, very, very difficult, crucial uh, time. And now we can say with certainty that the vast majority of the Iranian people do not support and do not identify themselves with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay. They want democracy, they want a society based on different value systems. They don't want what is going on right now, a middle age kind of a uh, um, government which lies and which um, suppresses any voice of freedom. We do not know what is going to happen in few months' time. Society is going through a lot of changes. There is so much discussion amongst the different wings of the Iranian regime. We do not know what will happen to this internal fight that is going on there, everything. So even though the Iranian society is in a much, in a very, very crucial moment of its life, I think solidarity with the people of Gaza is much more important. It's a shame of humanity. When I watch the TV and look at these kids dying every day, 50 of them, 60 of them, I mean, this cannot be tolerated. History will make judgment on our generation as it did judgment on the generations of the late 1930s and 40s in Europe. I think more than anything else, there is the importance of solidarity with the people in Palestine. in Gaza. That's my last word.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye. Thank you very much.